In a rainy loading yard, a routine forklift job becomes a crush zone. A flatbed trailer is backed to the dock, stacked with plastic containers. A forklift stands close beside it. One worker talks with the operator while standing between the mast and the trailer deck, feet on wet ground and no barrier behind him. Without warning, the forklift creeps forward. The mast closes the gap against the trailer edge, leaving no space between the moving truck and the fixed deck. As the machine shifts closer, the narrow aisle becomes a locked-in pinch point beneath the trailer overhang. Another worker rushes in to stop the movement and secure the area as the forklift, trailer, and dock form a tightening triangle of steel. Do not stand between a forklift and a trailer. Always keep a protected escape gap wherever powered equipment can move toward fixed structures. One stalled truck turns a quiet rail yard into a sudden disaster zone. In a snowy rail yard, tracks run between piles of construction material and steel beams. A dump truck attempts to cross, but stops directly on the rails, its trailer angled across two tracks. The ground is slick, visibility is low, and the truck appears unable to move forward or reverse. The crossing is open with no gates, only bare tracks cutting through the site. Moments later, a freight train approaches along the main line. The stalled truck remains across the rails with no room for clearance. The locomotive makes contact with the truck's front end, pushing the vehicle sideways and carrying it off the track. The trailer pivots, breaks free, and debris scatters across the snow as the train continues forward before coming to a controlled stop further down the line. Always confirm rail crossings are clear and passable. Never, ever stop, stall, or idle on active tracks, and ensure equipment can fully clear the rails before entering a crossing. At a fuel-loading rail yard, one careless move turns a tanker top into a flash zone. A long black tanker train is parked beside a platform lined with steel structures and pipes. On top of one tanker, a worker in an orange jacket climbs the ladder and walks along the curved shell. He bends near the manhole area, appearing to work without visible bonding cables, grounding straps, or fall protection. Overhead lines and metal structures surround the wagon, while the yard looks calm and routine. As he works near the hatch, a sudden blinding flash erupts from the top of the tanker. A burst of static energy ignites across the metal surface, sending a wave of light and pressure over the platform. The upper shell glows as smoke drifts along the railing, and equipment shifts across the walkway from the rapid expansion. The platform lights up against the night air, instantly transforming the quiet rail yard into an emergency scene. Never, ever work on fuel tankers without proper grounding, bonding, and non-sparking tools. Control static and ignition sources before opening or servicing any flammable container. At a fire training tower, a routine rescue drill turns dangerous in an instant. A multi-story fire training tower rises against a clear sky. Firefighters work on several floors, some at open windows, while another climbs an exterior ladder toward a third-floor opening. The ladder is long and steep, resting only at the base and against the wall. Each step makes it flex and shift, showing limited lateral stability at that height. As the firefighter nears the window, the ladder suddenly shifts outwards, peeling away from the tower. The structure slides off its resting point, losing lateral support and breaking contact with the wall. The ladder drops away from the opening and rotates downward, striking the ground with force as crews on the tower and in the yard move to secure the area. The drill instantly shifts into an emergency response triggered by the ladder's sudden failure. Use only secured, stabilized ladders for elevated rescue work, and ensure all climbing gear is anchored to prevent sudden lateral movement during high-rise operations. At an outdoor stone yard, one shifting slab turns a routine lift into sudden danger. Tall stone slabs stand upright in metal racks across the yard. A forklift approaches with its yellow slab clamp, gripping one of the panels, lifting it slightly from the row. A worker stands close, checking the alignment and signaling the operator. The slab is suspended, and the worker moves into the narrow space between the racks, where escape options are limited if the load shifts. As the forklift adjusts its lift, the slab in the clamp suddenly slips free. It tilts forward and drops into the narrow space between the racks, striking the metal rails and shattering across the aisle. Moments later, workers move in from the walkway to secure the area as the forklift stops and the slab settles against the framework. Workers should never, ever stand in the fall path of suspended slabs, and every clamp or lifting device must be checked and positioned so a slipping load cannot drop toward anyone nearby. In a busy processing workshop, one pressurized vessel erupts into a blinding cloud. The workshop floor is lined with large processing vessels, overhead piping, and carts for products. One mixer runs with its vessel sealed under heat and pressure. A worker stands nearby, monitoring the discharge. Another loads material farther down the line. Steam and residue show non-stop operation where any fault can escalate fast. Without warning, the operating vessel ruptures. A burst of pressure, vapor, and product blasts outward, flooding the machinery row in a dense, expanding cloud. Air and light equipment are pushed aside as visibility disappears behind the plume. The cloud rolls through the aisle until the release subsides, and when it finally thins, the entire line shows the marks of a sudden internal pressure discharge. Never, ever stay close to a processing vessel running under pressure. Keep clear of the hazard zone and rely on inspected protected equipment with functioning relief systems to control any sudden release. On a high construction roof, a massive tarp turns into a violent windsail. A roof framework is under construction, covered with an orange tarp not yet fully secured. Workers move across the trusses while the tarp billows in strong wind. Ladders and partial bracing run up the structure, but the open sides leave it exposed to strong gusts. The tarp lifts and drops, sending waves of fabric that push and pull against the frame. A strong gust hits the loose tarp. The sheet surges upward like a sail, lifting in a powerful arc as wind funnels beneath it. The fabric rises high above the frame, stretching tight before sweeping laterally across the open structure. The tarp then collapses in a sudden downward rush, slamming against the framing and shuddering the trusses under the shifting wind load. Workers on the roof move to secure the ladders and structure as the gust continues to hammer the tarp and framework. Secure every roof tarp against wind uplift because loose fabric can act as a powerful sail that can pull workers off balance, drag them across open framing, and destabilize entire structures during installation. One overloaded wall of sand turns a simple scoop into a sudden engulfment. Inside a large agricultural shed, a towering mound of sand rises several meters high. A compact yellow loader works at the base, scraping into the pile to remove layers. The surface looks firm, but the height and angles show clear signs of unstable overhangs. The operator nudges the bucket into the lower section, trying to pull material down in controlled loads. As the bucket lifts, the cut undercuts the entire face. A massive slab of the overhanging material breaks free at once and drops straight through the open space. The collapsing mass crashes onto the loader's path, engulfing the front section beneath several tons of loose sand. The machine vanishes under the falling pile as dust erupts through the shed, and the mound settles into a wide cone across the floor. Maintain wide, stable cuts and control the face of any tall stockpile. Never, ever dig directly under an overhang where gravity can collapse tons of material onto equipment or workers. On a narrow construction road, a loose cable reel turns a short push into a runaway trap. On a narrow road lined with vehicles and containers, two workers in high-vis vests guide a large cable reel by hand. One walks too close to the reel's flange, nearly in its path, while the other pushes from the side. The ground slopes ahead, and the heavy reel already shows signs of wanting to roll. As they push forward, the reel suddenly surges downhill. The heavy cylinder breaks free of their control and accelerates along the slope, its flange scraping against the roadway as it gains speed. The reel barrels down the narrow path, spinning faster with every meter and striking containers and framing as it transforms a simple repositioning task into a severe rolling and entanglement hazard. Never, ever walk in the roll path or tight against the flange of a heavy reel. Maintain clear standoff positions and mechanical control to prevent entanglement when moving cylindrical loads. At an off-road yard, a loss of control turns a ride into a rollover. On uneven dirt, a red off-road buggy moves across the lot. Two men are nearby, one driving the buggy, one farther back, unaware. The loose terrain can shift under the wheels as the buggy approaches at speed. The buggy hits unstable ground and tilts. The chassis twists, the machine rolls, and its weight carries it across the uneven surface as dust blasts through the yard. The vehicle flips onto its side and hits the ground with force. Stay well clear of operating off-road vehicles on unstable ground, keeping wide clearance from any potential rollover path. Stay well clear of off-road vehicles on unstable ground. Identify the rollover path, mark it, and keep everyone outside it before any machine moves. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.